Hello. Um, if you are watching, this is the second lesson for August. We are continuing Charles Perrault, French fairy tale, father of fairy tales. Um, his adaptations of fairy tales, and we're gonna go over Sleeping Beauty today. So I'm gonna kind of do things a little bit out of order, but just to get you excited about the story, I'm going to start with sharing, and we're going to go right to the story today. Um, so this is 1696. I probably won't get all the way through this story, just so you know. It's a longer story. Um, I'll probably get through the first 2 pages, and hopefully you'll be so excited about the story that you'll want to finish the story. So here we go. Once upon a time, there was a king and queen who wanted to have a child very much. After every possibility was exhausted, they prayed. Soon, the queen gave birth to a girl. A joyous celebration was declared. Now, it was the custom in the land for angels to descend from the throne of God and bestow blessings and gifts upon the newborn infants of the throne, not only ensuring a righteous monarchy, but also bestowing an outward perfection of beauty, mirroring the beauty that was within. Now it happened that 7 angels descended from the throne of God to the throne of the king and queen and stood before the royal princess. But as each angel was about to present their gift, there appeared an 8th angel. This 8th angel was not dressed in garments of lights, as were the other 7, but instead was cloaked with a garment of darkness. Since all the eyes of the court were upon the royal princess, no one seemed to notice as the 8th angel took its place in the line. However, one angel did notice, and feigning some excuse, slipped behind a tapestry in order to speak lastly and repair, as much as God would give the good angel power, the evil which the 8th angel would make. One by one, the angels presented their gifts to the baby princess. One gave her a gift that would make her the most beautiful person in the world. Another, a helpful spirit like an angel's, a gift of grace and all that the princess would do, a gift of dance to make the heart merry, a gift that would make her sing like a nightingale, a gift of talent so she could play any musical instrument to perfection. The 8th angel took its place before the infant princess. It stretched out its dark hand over the baby and pronounced its curse. The princess would prick her hand on the spindle of his spinning wheel and die. This terrible gift made the entire court quiver. There was not a single person who did not cry. At this moment, the good angel who had concealed itself behind the tapestry stepped forward. The light from the good angels waxed so bright and so pure that the 8th angel promptly fled. In a loud voice, the good angel declared the gift that God had decreed. Be assured, king, and be assured, queen, your daughter will not die. However, the princess will fall into a deep sleep. Her sleep will last 100 years, at the end of which the son of a king will come to awaken her. The king, to try to avoid the curse pronounced on his daughter by the 8th angel, made at once an edict, declaring that all spindles on spinning wheels, whether in work or home, should be destroyed under penalty of death. As the years slipped by, the kingdom slowly forgot the curse of the 8th angel. At the end of 15 or 16 years, the king and queen left the palace and departed to one of their country cottages to be alone with each other for a few days. Now it happened on this day that the young princess ran about from one room of the castle to the next until she found herself in a small forgotten room with a good old woman who was alone, spinning with a spindle. Now it happened that this good old woman did not hear of the king's decree to never again use spindles on spinning wheels, and if she did, her old mind had quite forgotten about it years since. What do you do there, good woman? Asked the princess. I spin, my beautiful child, answered the old woman. Ah, how pretty it looks, said the princess. How do you make it work? Give me a try so I can see whether I could do it as well. Since the spindle was extremely sharp, her hand was soon pricked, and the princess lay prostrate on the floor. The good old woman shouted for help, and servants came running from every direction. One threw a bucket of water on the princess, endeavoring to waken her. Another struck her face with the palm of his hand. Another rubbed her temples, but to no avail. Then the king, who was immediately called, remembered the gift of the good angel, and judging well that it was necessary that what was said would come to pass, would happen, since it was an angel from heaven that had said it, prepared his daughter for the 100 years of sleep. He commanded the princess be put in a beautiful apartment of the palace, and that a bed of gold and embroidery be fashioned. When the princess was placed in the apartment, everyone was astonished at her beauty, saying she had the countenance of an angel. She was that beautiful, for her beauty had not faded. Her colors were still as sharp as dye. Her cheeks were like carnations, and her lips like bright red coral. Her eyes were closed, and if you listened carefully, you could hear her breathing gently, signifying to everyone that she was indeed asleep, not dead. The king ordered that everyone let her sleep and rest until her hour to awake had come. The good angel who'd given her the gift of sleep instead of death was in the kingdom of Mataquin, which was 12,000 miles from there. When the accident had befallen the princess, was notified of it immediately from another angel who had orders from the throne of God to go to the stricken kingdom. In a second, the good angel arrived at the castle. With a merciful heart, the good angel stretched forth its hand and brought a deep slumber to everyone it touched. Girls of honor, chambermaids, gentlemen, officers, masters of hotel, cooks, kitchen boys, urchins, guards, Swiss pages, footmen. The good angel also touched all the horses which were in the stables, the stablemen, the caretakers of the farmyard, and small Pouffet, the small dog of the princess, who refused to leave the side of his master. As soon as the good angel had touched them, they fell asleep. Everyone would awaken at the same time as their mistress in order to be ready to serve her when the need arose. The fireplace in the kitchen, which was full of partridge and pheasants, fell asleep, and the fire too. All that was done in one moment. The good angel was not long with its work. Then the queen and king, after having kissed their dear child without waking her up, came out of the castle and made a decree that no one should disturb the rest of the sleeping kingdom. So they're gone. Mom and dad are gone. However, these defenses were not necessary because a vast distance of interlaced brambles and spines grew up around the castle. No one saw anything more but the top of the turns of the castle, making it impossible for animal nor man to go there. Okay, so I'm going to share there. Okay, so we've got a story here, and I intentionally wanted to kind of build up suspense there, hoping that you wanted to finish it. Because, and I'm going to share again here, I want to go over what does the story mean. So please don't read ahead, because I think if I go through these story elements and what does the story mean, and I analyze the story, and when you go back and reread it, you'll look at things differently. We have a lot of interesting symbolism in this story, very different from week one for Little Red Riding Hood. First and foremost, we have a happy ending here today. Good will prevail over evil. And we already kind of see that happening from the very beginning. So we've got a protagonist here. We got a bad guy. And what's really interesting about this bad guy is it's a spirit, right? It's an angel. It's not like something we can tangible. Okay, so we have the symbolism here of a higher power at work, a god or gods, if you will. The goodness was represented by the 7 angels of light, which if you think about it, even today in literature, in movies, storytelling, light, it reflects goodness, the good side. Evil was represented by the 8th angel of darkness. If you ever watch a horror movie, you'll notice a lot of times it's in the dark. It adds to the ambiance. And we all talk about the dark side or the dark web, right? So first and foremost, did you ever think about the number 7? Yeah. Lucky number 7 in Christianity, it's a biblical number. So we have 7 gifts, and I'm going to give you the order in which they were given, and you'll notice that they are out of order because the 8th curse comes between the 6th and the 7th gift. So the first gift was she was the most beautiful person in the world, the princess. The second gift, a helpful spirit. The third gift, a gift of grace. The fourth gift, a gift of dance. The 5th gift, a gift of song. The 6th gift, a gift of talent. The 8th curse is out of place here on purpose. And I love this because the 7th angel noticed the angel of darkness. Why didn't the other six? And the story says they were so busy looking at, the scene unfolding, the king and queen and the beautiful baby. Okay, but how often do we do the same thing? Evil may be lurking, but we're so intent on what we're doing, we miss it. Well, this seventh angel didn't miss it, knew something bad was about to happen, didn't know what, but thought, I need to be there behind this eighth angel who got in line unnoticed, because I know something's not going to go right. And of course, the curse is the princess will prick her hand on a spindle of a spinning wheel and die. The princess would not die according to the seventh angel, but really can't completely take away the curse. So has to kind of modify. She would sleep for 100 years and then be awakened by a prince. And notice when all of the angels, the sixth and seventh, look at the angel of darkness, he flees. He's afraid of them. So notice that right then and there, good prevailed. He left. He'd already done the damage, but he was afraid of them. The angels were spirits. So in the Christian faith, the belief is we all have a guardian angel watching over us and protecting us. And I like that. Even if you're not a Christian, it's a lovely idea. A good angel stretched forth its hand, and a deep slumber to everyone it touched. Now, this is a new angel. This is not one of the original seven. This is a new one because the seventh one is off in a foreign land. No, that was the original seventh one. That was the seventh one. It was, is that right? I got to go back and look at the story. I just went blank there. It's on a Sunday and I've worked all day yesterday, so I'm a little distracted. You know what? I'll just go find out. I'll go look in the story and show you this is exactly what you should do. If you're not sure, you verify. Okay, so this is 15 years later when the princess pricked her finger on the spindle. It's not the seventh one. She's not available. It's a new one. Okay, that's what I thought it was. So when 100 years pass, and I didn't read this part of the story, but this is so cool. And I'm going to stop share here. So this is so cool. So remember, this new angel protects the princess. The king and queen leave, presumably to live their life, right? Which I guess is kind of selfish. But what can they do? This is the curse. She's going to sleep for 100 years. They know, okay, so they leave. The spines and brambles cover the castle. All that's left are the turns on the top. But pretty much 100 years go by. So this prince comes along and there's peasants outside of the castle. And he's like, hey, what's going on? What are those? And they're all like, well, there's a lot of rumors. It's an ogre. There's a giant. There used to be a princess there. We don't know. And then one peasant says, I've been waiting my whole life to tell this story. My dad told me what happened. There's a beautiful princess, tells the whole story. Well, the prince says, well, that's me. I'm the one. He just immediately recognizes that's me. So he goes to, the front of the castle where the spines and brambles, are just interlocked, and they open for him magically. He walks in and they close behind him magically. I mean, come on, recognizing he is the prince to awaken Sleeping Beauty. And he walks in and he sees it's silent. And it looks like death. There are people everywhere, but they're not dead. Now, he understands the story, so he's not afraid, walks in and finds Sleeping Beauty and kneels down beside her. There's no kiss in here in this version of Sleeping Beauty, and there really doesn't have to be. She wakes up, and then the prophecy is fulfilled, right? So I'm going to share again here for a second. Um, the spell is broken. The rest of the castle wakes up to serve the princess. Here's the good news. They get married. They live happily ever after. Of course they do. So this is Once Upon a Time in a Kingdom with a Castle, and our theme is good can prevail and win over evil. Okay, so think about this. Wow. Evil. Um, Villains. They're my favorite characters. Lord Voldemort, Harry Potter, Dr. Jekyll, Pennywise and It, Cruella de Vil, Queen of Hearts and Alice in Wonderland, Ursula the Witch and the Little Mermaid. Evil villains in Marvel. I mean, hello. Thanos, Loki, Doctor Doom, Dr. Octopus, Green Goblin, Magneto, and X-Men. Villains in movies. Darth Vader, Dracula, the Joker, the Wicked Witch, Gollum, Megatron. It's a kid movie. It's Transformers, and they had a villain. We even have real world villains. We have Adolf Hitler, Joseph Stalin, dead. Vladimir Putin, alive and well. Jeffrey Dahmer and Ted Bundy, they are serial killers and they're on Netflix. And surprisingly, most of my kids knew who it was. Osama bin Laden was the leader of the terrorist attack on 9/11. He is dead. Kim Jong-un, alive and well, and really good friends with Putin. Sam Bankman-Fried is now serving a term in prison for stealing millions of dollars from people in his cryptocurrency scam. So I love a villain. The most successful authors in the world understand the importance of creating a strong antagonist. This character is intended to create a conflict with the protagonist. The classic fairy tale of Sleeping Beauty, retold by Charles Perrault, introduced the popular theme of how good wins out over evil. At the beginning of the story, the princess was placed in danger as a baby when a dark angel plotted against her. However, an angel of light was able to protect her, even though she was still tested by a curse. And that's kind of a fairy tale component. There's always a test that the protagonist has to pass. The king decrees an edict to remove every spindle from each spinning wheel found in the castle. But years go by. She's 15 or 16. And, there's a complacency that happens. There's oh, I feel safe now. The old woman, too, is not at fault. Time went by and it says her mind was probably feeble. She just, didn't remember. She pricks her finger and immediately fell asleep. And, it says she was prostrate on the ground. And I don't know if you know what prostrate is. You are literally in the cross position, face down on the ground. So, you're in a cross position, you're face down on the ground. That's prostrate. And I love the three ways they try to wake her up. First, they throw water at her, then they slap her in the face, and then they, rub her temples. And the king and queen are pretty clear what's happened. So throughout Sleeping Beauty's 100-year sleep, there were outside forces which continued to keep her safe. The brambles and the spines, around the castle. You kind of almost assume the peasants, just like 15 years went by, they forgot about the spindle. They just forgot about it. It just was kind of a wall. So our thesis today in Charles Perrault's characterization of Sleeping Beauty, children today recognize how the antagonist plays such a pivotal role in the development of stories and how they have people in their lives who protect them from outside forces as well. Okay, so once again, if you are new to online, you are allowed to copy the topic and end sentences. I'm okay if you even copy the transition words. I am not okay with you copying anything else. So the rest needs to be put in your own words. So textual references, do not want quotes. Do not quote. Please do not quote. Summarize in your own words. Version of Sleeping Beauty show how the princess was protected by evil forces in 3 ways. First, one of the angels cloaked in light was able to find a way to keep the angel of darkness from causing the princess's death. I've already given you the answer. Write out what steps that angel of light took. And we know she was the only one who saw the angel of darkness. She knew he was up to no good. She went last so that she could undo whatever curse he placed on the angel, on the baby. Second, the king was able to keep the curse from happening by his royal decree. He decreed no spindle in the castle or in the kingdom was allowed by penalty of death. Pretty serious. Third, magical forces kept the princess safe in the castle during her 100 years of sleep. Okay. The castle was enchanted. Everyone was asleep, and spines and brambles. And make sure you use those words, spines and brambles. Yeah, it's important. Covered the castle and didn't allow anybody in. So this French version of the story showed how good can prevail over evil. Okay, so now here comes our application. The princess in Sleeping Beauty was protected from evil influences, and so are children today who live in a potentially dangerous world. You know, we all live in a dangerous world. When I was your age, there were dangers in the world, and I was protected. So again, the princess was a character in a fairy tale who had many people keeping her safe, which is true for children who live in the world today. So again, don't care if you use the transitions, but everything else is in your own words. So first off, children today are protected by their parents who keep them out of harm's way. You know, we even talked about this with Little Red Riding Hood. You know, your parents aren't letting you go right on your own across town on a bike in a big red hood, right? Drawing attention to yourself that you're all alone, like you had a target on your back, you know? I don't even know if your parents, you know, in my day, our parents would drop us off at the mall. You know, the mall was a big hangout place, and you just go to the mall with your friends for hours when we were 13, 14. I don't even think your parents would do that. I don't think they would. Secondly, when kids go to school, it's the responsibility of teachers and other staff to keep them shielded from threats. You know, it's really interesting. I was telling my students on Saturday, they were like, well, Mrs. Hensel, don't you have to do what the parents tell you? And I go, actually, no. If we sense that a parent is abusive, by law, we have to report it. So no, the child comes before the parent. It is our duty and our obligation to protect you. So fire drill, you know, lockdown, all of that, rules, a code of conduct are in place to keep you safe, to protect you. Finally, medical professionals, doctors and nurses offer services to prevent disease and treat illness. You cannot go to a public or private school without a vaccination record. And again, that is to protect all the other students as well. They don't want you bringing in something because you're not vaccinated, and vice versa. Think about when you go to the nurse's office too. You know, what do? If you're sick, suck it up, go back to your desk. Here's a wastebasket. Keep vomiting there. They send you to the nurse's office, right? And if they have permission, they give you a Tylenol if you have a fever. Or, you know, they prescribe medication if you go to the doctor. So Charles Perrault's depiction of Sleeping Beauty showed how her parents, angels, and the entire court sought to protect her from the outside forces. And children today recognize they're also kept safe from harm by people in their lives. Aren't you lucky? The protagonist, Sleeping Beauty, was an innocent baby when a dark angel cursed her to death. However, an angel of light noticed his evil intention and was able to thwart disaster for Sleeping Beauty by allowing her to fall asleep instead, if she pricked her finger on a spindle instead of dying. After years go by, her parents in court forgot all about the danger a spindle held for Sleeping Beauty, and she pricked her finger. However, while she slept for 100 years, the rest of the court was under the same spell to sleep the same duration. The castle was also camouflaged from outsiders who did not notice it was there. Similarly, children today have people in their lives working to protect them. Parents may seem as if they're hovering or overprotective, but this is only because they're aware the world is a scary place. In schools, teachers and administrators put rules and procedures in place to maintain a safe environment for children to learn. Finally, doctors and nurses make sure children are vaccinated to prevent disease or provide medications to treat illness. The reason adults sheltered Sleeping Beauty is the same reason adults keep their children out of harm's way. So again, some examples here. When you use your transitions, it's for the writer as much as it is the reader. Let's see how good I did. See, I'm thinking second. The distance here is pretty good. The distance here is pretty good. It seems like this one's a little wimpy, like it needs a little bit extra. First off here. Secondly here, seems like that first argument's not quite as good. Whoa, look at this. The second argument's really good. See how good this one is? So yeah, I would need to beef up the first one a little bit, I think, on this one. And that's why we use transitions. It's not just for the reader to know when we're moving to the next step. Okay, this concludes August lesson 2. So we're just about done with summer. I have one more to record. And this is Sunday, August 11th. So I intentionally recorded both lessons before school starts for most of you. So if you need to do that, I understand. That was for you. Thanks for watching.